see, is Carl? I don't think Carl, I think, is Carl? Yeah, he's here. Okay. Yeah.
He went to the bathroom.
Okay. I think we're ready to go. Welcome, everyone, to our September 12th, 2023 Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District Board meeting. And our first item of agenda is a call to order and a pledge of allegiance. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our next item is for any public comment. Anybody wants to address the Board of Managers on an item not on the agenda or the consent agenda, please come forward at this time if you're here for something not on the agenda. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Kurt Hennis, 17286 Sunset Trail, Prior Lake, Minnesota. Just wanted to voice my support of something you guys have been looking at, and that's a small alum treatment on Fish Lake. Fish Lake for quite some time has been right on the threshold of complying for impairment with the MPCA. And I think if HAB is in this area anyway, you could probably get a heck of a deal on doing a minor treatment to get Fish Lake once and for all off the impaired list. And I strongly suggest you guys consider that. Contact HAB, see when they're going to be in town, doing some other work, which they always are, and then meet with them and then get involved with doing that. It's you're so close, it would be a shame not to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hennis, for that. And we are on the way. We are doing a Fish Lake management study, and it's on the way. It's not quite done yet, but that's something we'll take into consideration. Or it is being one of those items under consideration. Okay, I don't think there's anybody else who wants to make a comment to the board at this time. So we are going to, I want to make sure I'm on the right track here. We're going to go to a public hearing for our 2024 preliminary proposed budget and levy, and I'm going to have Administrator Giese present.
President Loney, I believe we do need to make a motion to start the public hearing.
A motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Manager Burnett, second by Manager Boyles. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried 5-0. Okay, now we can start the public hearing process.
President Loney and managers, in order for the Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District to meet, achieve or work towards our goals and maintain our current levels of service, we are proposing a preliminary levy of $1,900,058, $1,958,500 and a budget of $2,548,500 for 2024. This proposed levy increases the levy by $38,754 from 2023, which is a 2% increase from the 2023 levy. And the effective tax rate for this levy is essentially the same as it was for last year at about 2.8%. The budget reflects the district's priorities of trying to continue to build a reserve fund to cover anticipated future alum treatments. 90% of the budget is being allocated towards our projects and programs. We are using quite a bit of our budget reserves to help fund some of our projects. In particular, we're allocating close to $460,000 to help cover an estimated cost of $654,000 to try to advance upper watershed projects. The budget this year also includes about a $200,000 increase for a budget item for our ferric chloride facility. The ferric chloride site is at the end of some of its service life, and much of the equipment requires some replacement in the near future. So the budget does include a cost to start doing some of the replacement of that equipment. Once again, this is a very important piece of infrastructure for the district because it does remove quite a bit of phosphorus from County Ditch 13 that goes into Spring Lake. Our amount for grants is a little bit lower than normal this year. Once again, as we are continuing to advance some of our feasibility studies and continuing discussions with landowners, once we are able to identify some projects that have willing landowners, we will more aggressively go after additional grant funding to help with those implementation projects. The budget this year also includes a new budget item to update our comprehensive wetland plan for the amount of $35,500. The update of this plan was included in our water resource management plan, and it was initially done in 2012. Subsequent to the creation of that plan, we really have much better background data that we can be using to help assess potential wetlands within the district to see whether they would serve as potential water quality or flood reduction projects. So updating this plan would serve us well in terms of trying to advance those initiatives. So staff is recommending the adoption of Resolution 23-371, certifying the preliminary 2024 Administrative Metropolitan Administrative and Metropolitan Water Management Tax Levy in the amount of $1,958,700.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, so if there's anyone who wishes to speak on this matter, please come forward. Okay, not seeing any. I think the next motion should be to close the public hearing. Is there?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Manager Bennett and second by Manager Boyle. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, no. Carried 5-0, so the public hearing is closed. So the next item would be a motion to adopt Resolution 23-371, certifying the preliminary 2024 administrative and metropolitan water management tax levy in the amount of $1,958,700.
So moved.
Moved by Manager Boyles.
Second.
Second by Manager Burnett. Any discussions on the motion? Any discussion by manager on the motion? Assume you're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried 5-0. And this is our preliminary budget. We cannot exceed it now. We can reduce it come December, but we can't increase it. So, okay. So now we're going to move on to our approval of the agenda. And
Need to close the public meeting?
we did close the meeting. We did do that.
Close the hearing.
Yeah, we did. Okay, next is approval of agenda, and I would just like to add one item, 4.7, because we didn't get to it, our administrator's report in our workshop, so we'll put that as 4.7. Are there any other additions or deletions from board members, staff? We're good? Okay, so I would ask for approval of the agenda with that one addition.
So moved.
Moved by Manager Bennett.
Second.
Second by Manager Tofinelli. Okay, motion been made and seconded on the approval of the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion, opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Okay, so now we're going to go to programs and project update from staff. And it's discussion only.
To start us off, we thought we'd share a great product that our summer interns, Ashley and Lindsay, and administrative assistant Patty Dronin completed for us. It's introduction to the watershed, if you will. So hope you enjoy.
Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District was established on March 4th, 1970, in response to a petition drafted by watershed residents in 1969. At the time, Prior Lake and its watershed had no natural outlet, so flooding was a common occurrence. The goal of the petition was to create an organization that could address rising lake levels and the need for an outlet for Prior Lake. This led to the development of the Prior Lake Outlet System, which receives water from Prior Lake and the surrounding watershed and transports it to the Minnesota River. Today, the Watershed District continues to help manage and conserve the natural resources within its boundaries. The Watershed District is a 42 square mile area in Scott County, Minnesota. The watershed boundary is defined by the natural watershed or land area that drains water to Spring and Prior Lakes. Because the natural watershed boundary is defined by drainage patterns, it does not match municipal boundaries and covers portions of the cities of Prior Lake, Savage, and Shakopee, the townships of Spring Lake and Sand Creek, as well as portions of the Shakopee Mdewakanton Sioux community. Water primarily flows from the southwest up to the northeast through the district. Swamp Lake, Sutton Lake, Fish Lake, and Buck Lake all ultimately flow into Spring Lake. Arctic Lake, Spring Lake, Rice Lake, and Crystal Lake then flow into Upper Prior Lake and Lower Prior Lake. When water levels are high enough, water drains out of the watershed via the Prior Lake outlet channel to the Minnesota River. The Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District has 3 priority guiding principles that are outlined in our 10-year Water Resources Management Plan. To maintain or improve the quality of district water resources. To manage existing and prevent new aquatic invasive species in the district. And to reduce flooding on Prior Lake and reduce the impacts of flooding in other areas throughout the watershed. Our programs and projects use these 3 goals as guiding principles to conserve our lakes, streams, and natural resources.
Cow, you grabbed the big one, Mary. Look at that one.
Wow. That's good.
All right, so hopefully that video makes it up on the new website. It's a nice introduction to our district. I'll start us off here with the projects and programs update. We are still currently in a severe drought. According to the U.S. Drought Monitor, we are 100% within this severe drought category. Our lake level graphing website is up and running. This website is located at hydrometcloud.com/PLSLWD. This website hosts our telemetry water level loggers, and we've had some, we're pretty excited to be able to share this with the public as we've gotten lots of interaction and questions on where the lake level is at due to the drought conditions. As you can see in this graph displayed last month, we are showing very similar path as 2022 as we are currently. So we expect the levels to continue declining given the current climate and lack of rain in the forecast. Our carp management hog trap in Spring Lake is up and running, although carp are not taking the bait. So we have corn, cracked corn and whole corn out there, which is a selective bait for common carp. And we really have not been seeing consumption. So we have not sprung the gates on this trap or trapped carp yet. So unfortunately that hasn't occurred, but we're still gonna monitor what that situation looks like coming into the fall and see if any changes occur. Starting this fall, we'll begin our annual catch per unit effort surveys to show and estimate where our carp populations are at. We'll also use our side scan sonar to potentially locate aggregations for removal and look for obstructions before potential winter ice seining.
Okay, moving right along into project status. A lot of this material we've touched on in the workshop, but wanted to briefly cover it in the meeting as well. So it's on this record. I'll just touch on some high-level updates on several projects that have had recent updates. Sutton Lake Iron Enhanced Sand Filter, the ferric chloride system update, Swamp Lake Iron Enhanced Sand Filter, Fish Lake Management Plan update, and then finally the Prior Lake outlet pipelining. So the first is the Sutton Lake Iron Enhanced Sand Filter alternatives analysis. As discussed, we initially at the district had conducted a feasibility site where the red star is located. The yellow line indicates the watershed that drains to that site and therefore would be treated there. This study looks at some alternative sites to establish the cost effectiveness and ensure that we're looking to the most cost effective site. Then the next alternative downstream picks up this other branch of County Ditch 13, would be located somewhere around this red star, and the red line would outline the watershed that would be draining and therefore treated at that second alternative. And then lastly, the third alternative, the second alternative, the third option here is further downstream and picks up this branch over here, would treat water. All of these branches end up draining into County Ditch 13, which goes into Spring Lake. So the goal here is reducing phosphorus loads along that ditch and benefiting the whole reach and Spring Lake as well. So we're still looking at the best approach here, but that alternatives analysis helps give us information to inform that decision. We also have conducted some work on the ferric chloride system assessment. As a reminder, there are 8 tasks in this scope of work, so lots of work to be done. We've almost wrapped up our work on task 1 and 3, which is essentially looking at our current system, how much life it has left, and what needs to be replaced so that we make sure we can continue to operate a safe ferric chloride site and continue getting those water quality benefits. So we'll look in upcoming months to complete the drive assessment and then further work on system effectiveness and any permits required and funding sources that we could seek to do this work. So this is some of the recommendations that were presented as a result of the evaluation of the current system and what replacements were recommended. As discussed in the workshop, there are the two alternatives, different combinations of tank size and quantity that can reach our goals of containing chemical and including some redundancy and safety and ease of replacement of those tanks. So you can see the costs outlining here. The only difference in cost between those two alternatives is cost of tank and cost of sensors. That fourth line down, just the alternative B would have 4 tanks, potentially 4 sensors. So you'll see in our draft budget, we planned for the alternative B, which costs out long-term to be more effective, and also just giving us some conservancy if there are other needs that arise. Another project that's moving along is the Fish Lake Management Plan update. We'll be wrapping up a draft plan shortly and reviewing that in staff. We'll be presenting a project update later this month at the Citizen Advisory Committee meeting. And then the first input on the draft plan will be at a landowner meeting on October 5th. And so that meeting will really be focused on the findings of the plan, the draft plan, and the recommended actions to next best steps of improving lake water quality on Fish Lake, and getting feedback from landowners on preferences and information we may not know from collecting data. You'll see that that draft plan will go in front of the board on November 14th at a special workshop prior to the board workshop, where both our board at the Watershed District and Spring Lake Townships supervisors will attend and review that draft plan. And then tentatively, the final plan will be for review and approval at the December meeting. Another project with exciting updates, we were selected to be included in the bonding tour, and that tour is set for October 12th, 4:15 to 4:25, tight schedule, location to be determined. We're still on schedule to get our construction documents 95% ready so we can demonstrate that we're as shovel-ready as possible and prime for funding. And then lastly, I just wanted to highlight a project I've been working on the potential for with Soil and Water Conservation District over at Scott County. There's a stream restoration project. The stream between Buck Wetland and Buck Lake has quite high erosion and high energy. So it has been identified in the Watershed District's upper watershed blueprint. We're waiting for LiDAR data to better assess what the recommended design would be for that, and then therefore costs. Pun intended, that this project is a slippery slope. When you armor or reinforce one bank, it can make it faster, and another bank can be susceptible downstream. So here's an example of what it looks like right now on the left, and then another kind of example of a landowner's slope. You can see it's eroding, and they're trying to protect it. They've done some armoring. So it'll be interesting to see what the recommendation is after we have more LiDAR data to plan around. And I'll hand it over to Danielle.
All right, so I have an update on our education and outreach this past summer and looking into the fall. So we had 3 events this past summer. We hosted an aquatics plant station at the Real Cool Fishing School, hosted by the city of Prior Lake. So we had 56 elementary-aged attendees come and learn about aquatic plants and lakes and their roles in the lakes, and also how to prevent aquatic invasive species. That was awesome. We had some examples for them to play with and get familiar with, and they got to sort them out. Following that, in July, we had a vegetation ID workshop with Spring Lake Association with Steve McComas from Blue Water Science. We had 18 people in attendance and 52 live stream views, so it was pretty popular online. So we learned about native and invasive species in Spring Lake, the status, management methods, and identification. And then in August, we hosted a location for Starry Trek, which is a statewide effort to locate aquatic invasive species, mainly starry stonewort, which is an approaching species across the state, as well as other common invasive species. And this is held on the same day as a similar event in Wisconsin, so it's two statewide event looking for aquatic invasive species. We had 4 volunteers come out. We looked at 9 different locations in our watershed and around our watershed. And good news, across Minnesota and including at our sites, we did not find any starry stonewort or other aquatic invasive species as part of the event. So that was great. Everyone had a good time. And then looking into the fall, we have 3 more events coming up. Fall Community Fest is on Monday. That's held at the Prior Lake High School. We are hosting a table on chloride pollution, and we will also be recruiting for our Citizen Advisory Committee at that. It's going to be an interactive table teaching people how to apply sodium chloride and other de-icers this winter. And then we will be helping out at the Outdoor Education Days in about 2 weeks. That is held by the Scott Clean Water Education Program. It's a 4-day event in the morning. Each year, it serves approximately 1,200 fifth grade students across the county. And we will be hosting a lesson on the water cycle. So that's going to be a lot of fun and have a really wide reach. And then at the end of October, we will be bringing back the annual tradition of the Clean Water Cleanup at Sandpoint Beach Park. That's going to be in partnership with the Scott Clean Water Education Program and the City of Prior Lake. So we'll be raking up leaves around the park in order to prevent them from getting into the lake and into the roads and storm drain systems. And this will prevent them from contributing to phosphorus loading. It's going to be a really great community engagement event. It should be a lot of fun. We'll have prizes and some food and teach people about some illicit discharges in the fall. All right. And then on another note, with the Citizen Advisory Committee, we are down to 5 members, which is the minimum requirement for a Citizen Advisory Committee. So we are really pushing recruitment for the committee. We came up with this timeline for onboarding. So in the red squares, that is when we will be interviewing applicants and selecting applicants for the committee. The green arrows show when meetings are held. So we have a nice timeline 3 times a year of processing applicants, and they'll be able to jump on a meeting the following month. We also created a 1-pager for recruitment. There's a front and back. This just shows the front on the left-hand side. So those are posted in the Prior Lake Library, Spring Lake Town Hall, and Prior Lake City Hall. We'll also have them available at all of our events and at meetings. And we've also done some push online. There are informational bulletins on Spring Lake Township's website and the Shakopee Mdewakanton Sioux community member website. On our social media, done some pushes on Facebook groups and among sports clubs. And we are also working on revamping our onboarding materials, so once we have applicants selected, that there is a smooth process for getting them onto the committee. All right, and that is all. Oh.
Okay, where was that reef raking event at what park again?
That's going to be at the Sandpoint Beach Park.
Okay, all right. And any questions from board members on the update?
Mr. Boyle. That was a surprise with the video. I don't know, maybe everyone else knew about it, but that video was really quite good. Is that something we're using at scale?
Manager Boyles, yes, we will start out our presentation at scale with that video.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys for good reports there. We're going to move on to item 4.2, designation of a Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District alternate representative to the Prior Lake Outlet Channel Project Cooperators. And Joni, do you want to take this?
Yes, President Loney and managers. The Prior Lake Outlet Channel is jointly managed by 4 entities: the Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District, the City of Prior Lake, the City of Shakopee, and the Shakopee-Mdewakanton Sioux community. There is a operations manual that is put together that determines how we operate the outlet together. And in that memorandum of agreement, it states that each project cooperator will designate an individual and an alternate to serve as representatives and attend quarterly project cooperator meetings. It also states that the Watershed District's representative will serve as the chair of these meetings. And finally, the memorandum of agreement between the partners states that no business may be conducted at a meeting unless representatives of 3 of the project cooperators are present, and that any action requires the vote of 3 cooperators. So the Prior Lake Spring Lake president traditionally serves as our liaison to the Prior Lake Outlet Channel project cooperators, and we did nominate and approve President Loney to be serving as the district's liaison. But at this time, we do not have our alternate representative, and we do need to designate one to ensure that we always have representation at these meetings. So looking at guidance at the district's governance manual, our governance manual states that the district's vice president will preside at meetings as the chair in the absence of the president. And I suggest that we apply this approach to selecting our representative for the Prior Lake Outlet Channel cooperators, and therefore using if our president cannot attend the cooperator meetings, that the district's vice president serve in their absence. So staff recommends that the managers approve the designation of the Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District vice president as the district's alternate representative to the Prior Lake Outlet Channel project cooperators.
Okay, thank you, Administrator Giese. So that was a motion that we would approve or designate the vice president as a district alternate representative to the PLOC project cooperators. And we found out when we did the review of we didn't have one, and we're supposed to have one for the agreement. So.
Yeah, so I think it needs to be motioned.
Yeah, a motion to approve the designation of the.
So moved to approve the request to have a designate or alternate.
Okay.
Second.
Second by Manager Morkenberg. Okay, so any more discussion? No more discussion? Assume you're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried 5-0.
Abstain.
Oh,
I'm abstaining.
oh, okay. 4-0. 1 abstain. Conflict of interest, I suppose.
Correct.
Okay, moving on. Whoa. Cost share project approval. And Emily, I think you're up.
I am. The district operates a cost share program with Scott Soil and Water Conservation District. They've identified a project site for a proposed prescribed burn. Prescribed burns must be approved by the district board since they are not listed as a type 1 practice in our cost share docket, which governs the cost share program. The prescribed burn would enhance the prairie's ability to serve the functions of runoff reduction, water quality improvement, and pollinator and wildlife habitat. The Geist wetland adjacent to this project has been an important site for district water quality projects in cooperation with the landowners. The staff would like to make the recommendation to make a motion to approve the Bush prescribed burn project for cost share.
Okay. The motion is to approve the Bush prescribed burn project for cost share as identified in the memo here. And our cost share is $1,750. So, anybody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Manager Boyles. seconded by Manager Tofinelli. Is there any discussion? Anybody want to have discussion on this motion?
Is this Sudden Lake, by Sudden Lake?
No, that is the Geis wetland right near the ferric chloride plant there.
Okay.
Any other questions, discussion? Okay, not seeing any. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? This one carried 5-0 unanimously. Okay, so Emily, you're up next again with Farmer-Led Council cost share eligibility.
Okay, great. So again, Scott Soil and Water Conservation District and the Watershed District work together to support conservation activities. And we do that by administering another cost share program specific to our watershed and the farmers within it called Farmer-Led Council. The Farmer-Led Council identifies farmers and supports unique conservation practices above and beyond the countywide cost share program. Currently, the Farmer-Led Council program does not have a policy document. District staff intends to draft a policy document to record the program purpose, funding, and eligibility. But in the interest of time and moving along conservation service assistant to interested farmers, staff recommends that the board approve a protocol for Farmer-Led Council cost share program eligibility. The proposed protocol is Farmer-Led Council programs and incentives are available to agricultural producers or landowners participating in field practices where the fields are located within the Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District political or hydrologic boundaries as depicted on Scott GIS 3. So again, staff would recommend to make a motion to approve the Farmer-Led Council cost share eligibility protocol.
Okay, thank you, Emily. So what you're doing here, I think, is until we get a policy established, we're going to go with this protocol, which kind of gives the staff some guidance on how to deal with the landowners or producers. So the motion would be to approve the Farmer-Led Council cost share eligibility protocol as listed in the memo. Is there anybody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Motion by Manager Burnett.
Second.
Second by Manager Morkenborg. Okay, any discussion on the memo or the motion?
I believe passing this would potentially help one landowner, so I think it's a good idea.
Okay?
And potentially many more. So.
Yeah, I think any other questions, discussion? I think it is a good idea, too. All in favor of the motion, then, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Well, now we get into some more complicated memos here. So we're in item 4.5, which is in our Rule D, preliminary or public linear cost cap and stormwater impact fund contribution rate establishment. And Administrator Giese, I think you have this one.
Yes, President Loney and managers. In May of 2022, the Board of Managers approved new district rules that went effective June 1st of 2022. The newly adopted Rule D stormwater management called for the Board of Managers to establish a public linear cost cap and a district stormwater impact fund contribution rate. And this will happen on a approximately an annual or every other year basis. So for us to establish those rates, staff, after the approval of the rules, staff solicited representative projects, public linear projects, from our LGU partners. And the district engineer then reviewed those projects and determined, based on and analyzed those projects submitted to develop a proposed linear cost cap rate. The district engineer also was able to secure some data from two other watershed districts, the Ramsey Washington Metro Watershed District and Capital Regions Watershed District, who had used some stormwater BMP data from projects within those districts to help establish a price for our stormwater impact fund. The district engineer looked at 68 above-ground projects that were for water quality improvement and infiltration BMPs to help come up with that estimated cost. These costs were then brought forward to our LGU partners for their review and comment. And at that time, we were suggesting a public linear cost cap of $18 per cubic foot of treatment volume and a stormwater impact fund contribution of $27.50 per cubic foot of required treatment volume. Actually, one of the main comments that we did receive from some of the partners were more logistic questions about how these new rates would be applied, how they would actually request to use these new options that are included within the Stormwater Rule D. So subsequent to that meeting, which we held with our partners in last September, district staff has been working to establish some protocols in terms of helping to provide guidance in terms of how these new flexible rules, flexibility options within the stormwater rule would be applied. And we have been working with our partners with that. So subsequent to that, it's been over a year since those proposed rates were suggested. We've seen significant cost inflation in construction costs with that. And so we are then proposing these rates just be escalated to account for construction inflation. So staff is recommending that the Board of Managers approve a public linear cost cap of $22.50 per cubic foot of required stormwater treatment volume. Staff also recommends that the Board of Managers approve the Stormwater Impact Fund contribution rate of $34.50 per cubic foot of required stormwater treatment volume.
Thank you, Administrator Giese. One question I have right off the bat, did the LGU partners see our new cost increases with inflation or not?
Our LGU partners, we did send a notification to all of our LGU partners of the proposed rates and our intent to vote on them at the meeting this evening.
Okay, so this has been a long time coming. It's been part of our rules, which took a long time to adopt. And these were kind of a couple items that we needed to get. It was decided it would be determined later on. So that's why they're here tonight for us to discuss. So do you want two motions or can we do it in one?
President Loney, if you can put it all into one motion, that would be just fine.
Okay. Anyway, you're green, Frank. So if you want to make a
There we
motion.
go. I'd like to move the staff recommendation on both points, the $22.50 per cubic foot of required stormwater treatment volume and the $34.50 per cubic foot of required stormwater treatment volume.
Okay. Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Manager Burnett. Bennett, is there any other discussion on this? Been a long time coming, so is any other discussion?
Yeah, we had a good discussion at our last board preparation meeting. So I think we discussed it very thoroughly and saw the rationale behind it, so I'm in favor of it.
Okay. Any other discussion? Not seeing any, I assume you're ready to vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Okay, so now we're up to our easement sign replacement. And Administrator Giese, I think you have this one.
President Loney and managers. The district does have numerous conservation easements adjacent to watercourses and wetlands. Once again, that have been created in response to the district's Rule J buffer strips. So that part of those conservation easements, the declaration of those conservation easements, calls for monumentation to be placed to demark the boundaries of our conservation easements. On an annual basis, district staff goes out to inspect these conservation easements to ensure that these easements are being maintained in a manner that is consistent with the protocols and restrictions that are outlined in our conservation easements. With the most recent inspections, we have found that there are approximately 300 signs missing that demark our conservation easements, which makes it quite difficult for us to actually perform many of our inspection activities. We also believe that some of these signs have been missing for several years now. And we believe we have addressed the issue in terms of some of the materials that we're using for our posts, that we are now using some different materials to ensure that these signs cannot be as easily displaced in the field. Given the fact that these signs have been missing for a while on a number of these parcels, staff is recommending that on a one-time basis that the district fund the replacement of these signs, notifying the landowners that this is a one-time activity and that any subsequent relocation or displacement of these signs will then be their responsibility to cover the cost of replacement. The cost of replacing these signs is approximately, for materials and labor to install them, is approximately $60 per sign. So staff is estimating we would need a cost of approximately $20,000 to replace these signs, plus a buffer of 10% additional signs. So staff is recommending that the board approve the replacement of missing easement signs at a cost of $20,000.
Okay, thank you. And I believe this was not budgeted, so it's going to have to come out of budget reserve. So just so that clarification. I don't know
That
if
is
we did
correct,
add that
President
in the-
Loney.
in the motion, but I know we did talk about that. That was not budgeted initially. So is there anyone who wants to make a motion on this item?
So moved.
Motion by Manager Toffenelli,
Second
second by Manager Boyle. Is there any discussion, further discussion on this motion?
question.
Question, Manager Boyle.
I know we talked a little bit while we were in workshop about the possibility of having some language on there that said, if you have this sign in your bedroom or your living room or somewhere other than where it's supposed to be, you may have to replace it, or there's a penalty or some sort. Is that something we can try and incorporate, perhaps on the reverse side of the sign? Because I know you've got a nice, a little more wholesome message, friendly message on the front. Be nice that if they've got the sign, they know that they shouldn't.
Manager Boyles, if the managers would like us to include some language on the sign, we can certainly make it work that would state that in future replacement, it would be the responsibility of the property owner.
Would you accept that as a friendly amendment?
I would accept that. I don't know if it's, I know it's in the documentation on that these can't be relocated, but I know we've had instances of people moving those, and you only have so much you can put on there, but I just think there should be some notification that they can't be moved, and you're responsible should they be taken or moved for relocation.
Great. I'm amenable to
That was an agreement to your amendment, right?
That wasn't, yes. He was
yes.
he was saying it's okay. It's a friendly amendment to
Yes.
amend his
It
original.
was an agreement
My
with
second
Frank.
is the same.
I
Write
wanted to
that
make
down,
sure. I wanted to make
please.
sure. Okay, so there's an amendment, and I believe, do we have to vote on the amendment for Robert's rules? I think we do.
Well, we amended his motion.
Okay.
So it's like there's.
Okay, so that amendment is in the motion.
Yeah,
Okay,
the person who seconded it.
all right. So the motion is to approve the replacement of missing easement signs at a cost of $20,000 and to include some language on the backside of some kind of notification.
You're in trouble now.
Yeah. So with that, any more discussion on this item in our motion? Okay, not seeing any. Is When you're ready to vote, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay, so now we're at the administrator's report that we added, 4.7.
That's right, President Loney and managers, I am excited to tell you that we have made an offer, and the offer hasn't been accepted for a new staff member to fill our water resources technician position. Gentleman Zach Nagel will be joining the Watershed District starting September 27th. He has a lot of previous water resources related experience in Minnesota and Wisconsin, and we're just very excited to have him joining our staff. As mentioned also, just once again want to reiterate that we're also very happy that to have been notified that the Prior Lake Outlet Channel Pipe Lining Project has been included in the Minnesota State Legislature bonding tour that will be held on October 12th. We have a 10-minute time slot in order for us to present the benefits of this project to state legislators. Unfortunately, we will not be able to present it down at the outlet structure, just given the time constraints and the logistics of how to get there. So that location yet is to be determined, but we will share that out to the project managers and any other interested folks who would be interested in joining us to help advocate for this project. Also, we did receive notification from the Board of Water and Soil Resources of their next round of water-based implementation funding grant funding. This is a funding that is made available on a biennial basis. This is the most recent round is the funding that we are using to help fund our Fish Lake Management Plan study and our Swamp Lake Iron Enhanced filter project. This next round of funding, the Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed Planning Area will receive an allocation of $169,935. So what our staff's next step is to start a convening project with our project partners who are within our planning area. It is not funding given to the Watershed District. It's money given to the Prior Lake Spring Lake planning area. So, but the district typically takes on the lead role of bringing together all of the governmental entities within our planning area to help us decide how to use those grant dollars. Those grant dollars will be available to us in fiscal year 2025, which basically starts on July 1st of 2024. Once again, staff is busy working on putting together some presentations for a lot of engagement for this fall. In addition to some of the projects that Danielle was mentioning, we will be making a presentation to Scale on October 13th. We will also be making a presentation to the City of Prior Lake Citizen Engagement Committee on October 19th, and possibly making a presentation to the Prior Lake Association as part of their annual meeting as well. And at those presentations, we'll definitely be showing our video, and once again, highlighting the work that we are doing to help preserve our natural resources. And then finally, we will be starting the process of our biennial solicitation to secure submittals of interest, letters of interest for the district engineering position, our district attorney, district auditor, and accountant. And that process will be starting here in the next couple of weeks. And that was the end of my report.
Is that it? Is that all? That's it? Question, Manager Morkenberg.
Yes, so it was an excellent video. When you do those presentations, I suggest also to discuss some of the successes. And as an example is the water quality improvement of Spring Lake and Upper Prior Lake. And sort of very briefly, you have some nice graphs where you can show like the absolute improvement over the last few years, just to show that you are succeeding with the work.
Nice suggestion. Thank you, Manager Markenberg.
Okay, well, moving on our agenda here then, the Treasurer's Report is next by Manager Morkenberg.
Yes, our finances are in good standing, both for the general fund and for the implementation fund. Our foreign bank accounts are in balance too. Our restricted and committed funds are also in balance, and
Citizen Advisory.
and our cash reserves are good and projected to be good through the year. If you look at the claims list that we'll be approving tonight here, you will see that the amount is higher than it usually is, 167,000, and the reason for that is what we are starting to see in the fall here is that we get more bills coming in from our partners that we work with. As an example, EOR, their bills for working with Fish Lake Project, iron chloride site and iron chloride sand filters. There's Stantec that works on Swamp Lake, WSB on the pipelining. IMD looks at water monitoring. We have increasing work with Scott Soil and Water Conservation District with increasing bills coming in there, but all in line with what we have budgeted for and planned. So I believe that is my report for today. Any questions?
Any questions on the Treasury reports? Looks good. Looks good. Okay, no questions? Thank you, Christian.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is our consent agenda. This is considered one item of business, routine administrative items, not requiring discussion. Items can be removed from the consent agenda at the request of the board member, staff member, or member of the audience. Please state which items you would wish to remove for discussion. Our items on consent are meeting minutes of August 8th, 2023 board workshop, and meeting minutes of our August 8th, 2023 board meeting, and our claims list and bank purchase card expenditure summary. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda or any?
So moved.
So moved? Right. Moved by Manager Morkenberg, second by Manager Tofinelli. No discussion, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion carried 5-0. All right, I'm going to have Manager Boyles read our upcoming meeting and event schedule.
We have meetings, folks. We have 6 of them to summarize for you. First, the school district is providing their Fall Community Fest. That is Monday, September 28th, from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Prior Lake High School. Our Citizens Advisory Committee meeting is Thursday, September 28th, 6 to 7:30, here at Prior Lake City Hall and in the Wagon Bridge Conference Room, which is down in the lower level. It's the largest conference room there. There is a Fish Lake Management Plan Update landowner meeting, there's a mouthful, on Thursday, October 5th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Spring Lake Town Hall. Our Board of Managers workshop for October will take place on Tuesday, October 10th, 4 p.m. in the here at Prior Lake City Hall in the Parkview Conference Room. The Board of Managers meeting itself will commence at 6 p.m. same evening, October 10th, here in the City Council chambers. The final meeting I want you to be aware of is the Clean Water Cleanup event, Saturday, October 28th, 9:30 a.m. to noon at Sad Point Beach. We're looking for as many people as we can get with as many farm implements as they can bring, preferably non-engine items, but your rake and that sort of thing would be very helpful. Come with some energy as well.
It's a good time by, usually, in good weather, if we have good weather. It usually is kind of the key. Okay, thank you, Manager Boyles. And now I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Manager Brett. Did you second that?
No,
Oh.
it's down there.
Second by Manager Mortenberg. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned at 7:08. Thank you, everybody.